Welcome back to Brand Chops, the podcast that chops up brands and helps small businesses stop wasting money on marketing without a strategy. Every episode, we're breaking down a key aspect of building your business with better branding into bite-sized, actionable takeaways that you can use right away. My name is Zack Lemear.
And I'm Chris Duhaime. Today, we're going to be diving into one of the most exciting and disruptive brand archetypes, the rebel. If you've been following along, we've covered the innocent, the explorer, the sage, and the hero. But today, we're flipping it around a little bit with the rebel brand. It's all about breaking the rules, challenging the status quo, and shaking up industries. If you've ever felt like your business doesn't fit into traditional norms, this episode might be for you.
I love rebel brands. Rebel brands, they don't play it safe. That is like right up my alley. They attract customers who are tired of the mainstream, looking for alternatives, ready to go against the grain. We're going to break down what makes the rebel archetype powerful and how to use it strategically and what mistakes to avoid.
Yeah, the rebel archetype is built on revolution, defiance, shaking things up. So when brands are not afraid to challenge the norm, reject authority, and carve their own path.
And that's why some of the most well-known rebel brands have a bold, edgy presence. So if you think about Harley Davidson, Virgin, even brands like Apple in its early days, they're not just selling a product, they're selling an attitude.
Yeah, Harley Davidson's a great example. Their entire brand is built around freedom and rebellion, that open road feeling. Their customers don't just want a motorcycle, they want to escape from the rules and it create some adventure, create an experience.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, think about the value of your brand if your customer base was willing to tattoo it on their body. That's Harley Davidson. And then there's other places like Virgin, founded by Richard Branson. Whether it was music, airlines, telecom, Virgin positions itself as the anti-establishment, choice, fun, rebellious, and different from the big corporate players.
Yeah, so if your brand is about disrupting an industry, giving people an alternative or to mainstream, or just speaking to customers who feel overlooked, the rebel brand might be a good archetype for you to focus on.
Let's talk about this a second about the psychographics of a rebel brand customer. Who are they? These are people who reject the mainstream. They want to express their individuality. They're drawn to brands that make them feel like they're part of a movement.
Yeah, these are customers that are independent thinking, risk takers, nonconformists. They don't want to follow the crowd. They're naturally skeptical of big corporations and or traditional marketing. So make sure that you're not doing anything cookie cutter or templatized or using stock photos.
Right. And there's many layers of the rebel. There's a very big difference between someone with a bright blue mohawk and a Harley Davidson rider. Both rebels, both follow the same, but you can't necessarily collect all those images and messaging and start appealing to the same type of rebel. So how do rebel brands speak to these customers? Messaging is really everything. They use bold, provocative language, things like break the rules, ditch the ordinary, challenge the system, think for yourself, be different, think different.
Yeah, rebel brands tend to use dark imagery or visuals, but then they also counterbalance that with bold colors like black, red, and edgy typography. Their visuals feel raw, rebellious, and in your face.
Yeah, Diesel's another brand. Think of some of their campaigns where they often push boundaries and challenge social norms, or brands like Doc Martens, where they've built a cult following by appealing to alternative subcultures. Like I said before, there's a big difference between a Harley Davidson driver or somebody who's going to wear Doc Martens and a blue mohawk.
Yeah, it definitely can go wrong fast. Some of the first mistakes that we see rebel specific brands making is they're just being rebellious for the sake of it. So they're sort of faking it, and it's pretty easy to tell.
Yeah, it is pretty easy to tell. So if you're just trying to be edgy without a clear purpose, it feels forced. It feels like the kid in school that was trying too hard to make friends. It's off-putting. Customers can tell when a brand is authentic and when it's not. So be authentically rebellious versus when they're just trying too hard.
Yeah, and try not to alienate too many people. The rebellion is great, but if your messaging is too aggressive or controversial, it's going to be off-putting to a part of your audience. So you just want to make sure that you're pushing the limits, but you're not pushing people away that could be attracted to your brand.
Yeah, I mean, a good example of that right now and always since they've come out is Liquid Death. Some of their stuff is pretty provocative. And I think they do it on purpose because they don't care and that's their brand. But I mean, they've had the kegs for pregs. They had drinking on the job where everybody was pilots and people with very important jobs were just chugging these waters and they were just like drinking on the job. And it's funny. And then they had the one where they replied to a comment on one of their posts that said, I would rather drink sweat off of a fat man's back than drink your product. So they did a double blind Pepsi challenge with a guy in a sauna that was overweight and versus their product. And it was gross. But you know what? We're talking about it. So here's one big one. If you don't have a clear message, you're going to go wrong. Rebel brands thrive on having a cause or a mission. If you're just against everything without a strong stance, you're going to lose credibility. You sound like a teenager that hates everything.
Yeah, and so we've been talking about some larger brands. So I want to scale it down to some smaller businesses that maybe use that Rebel branding effectively. So we've been talking about some pretty large businesses right now, but let's scale it down to some small businesses that may use Rebel brand effectively. If you're thinking this might sound like a brand archetype that's in line with your audience, here's how you can make it work.
Here's the first step. Define what you're rebelling against. Rebel brands need a clear enemy. It could be your corporate greed. It could be outdated traditions. It could be overpriced competitors. I mean, think about Liquid Death. Their tagline is murder your thirst. Their enemy is thirst. Done.
Yeah, and I would say bold storytelling is going to be really crucial when you're building your Rebel brand. You need to stand out, but your content needs to be provocative, challenging assumptions, and get people talking about you.
And step 3 is build that community. Rebel brands aren't for everyone, but when they create diehard fans, that's when you've got something. You got to make your customers feel like they're part of something exclusive, whether it's through events, private groups, inside jokes, a bike club, even people right now that have a Tesla. It might not be a disruptor brand or a Rebel brand, but they're all nodding to each other when they drive down the road. Or a couple episodes ago, we just talked about the Jeep. All these people with the little ducks on the Jeep. It's a community.
Yeah, and so one more bonus tip, you got to stay consistent. We've been saying that throughout all the episodes, but it's super important here. Rebel brands need that strong, no BS voice. If you're bold one day and cautious the next, you'll lose trust. So stick to your attitude.
Exactly. So let's recap. The Rebel brand is all about challenging the status quo, pushing boundaries, giving customers an alternative to the mainstream.
To make it work, you need to focus on clear messaging, bold storytelling, and build a loyal following. Avoid being rebellious just for the sake of it and or alienating too many people.
So if you're loving this branding deep dive, stay tuned. The next episode, we're talking about the magician archetype. That's the brand that creates transformation and creates something out of nothing, makes the impossible feel possible.
And as always, if you got some value from today's episode, please subscribe, leave us a review, or send us a question. We'd be happy to take a look at it and potentially answer it on an upcoming episode.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Brand Chops, where we chop up brands to see what they're made of. See you next time.
See you guys.
Brand Chops is brought to you by the fine people at Pivot Creative. Pivot Creative is a full-service branding and marketing agency that partners with businesses to build brands that connect so that every dollar you spend is an investment and not an expense. If you need some branding or marketing guidance, a website, a new brand, or want to learn more about one of the topics we cover on the show, please reach out to us at pivotcreative.com. If you know someone that would benefit from learning more from one of our shows, please share the episode. Visit brand-chops.com. And as always, like and subscribe if you find this content to be helpful. See you next time on Brand Chops, where we chop up brands to see what they're made of.